Hello and welcome to our next sofa chat with the very beautiful Ros Jones. Ros and I have been friends for about 3 years, I think it is, Ros, now, isn't it? And
Yeah,
we met through networking, which happened in lockdown, of course. So, an amazing opportunity. We only live about 20 miles apart, so we are ladies at lunch, which I absolutely love, either you visiting me or for me to join you in Scarborough in North Yorkshire. Ros is a fellow hypnotherapist and also an author. But we neither of us had published when we first met, had we?
no, we hadn't.
No.
I wasn't actually even writing then, to be fair.
Really? No, I was, but not for publication. I'd got some children's stories lined up, but I'd not really even thought about publishing at that point. So yeah. So my name is Susie Jones. I always forget to say who I am, which is interesting, but I know who I am. So, and Ros, I've invited Ros to a sofa chat because she's a really interesting woman. And I thought you'd be really interested in what she's got to say about living your best life, which is really essentially what you do for people, isn't it, as a business coach? And also, I hope that we get a chance to talk a little bit about your wonderful book, which is really powerful. And if time allows, we might even get into the world of hypnotherapy. So let's move on. And I'm going to introduce you to Ros. Tell us all about yourself, Ros, please.
Well, thank you, Susie. Well, so as you said, I'm an author, a hypnotherapist, and I'm also a business coach. I live in the wonderful Scarborough, North Yorkshire. My main job is, if you like, is as a business coach. My aim there, and it's come through. We're all on a journey, aren't we? So I've learned as I've gone along, and my coaching now is a bit different from how it was when I started. But now my concern, if you like, for my clients is based on what I learned through my own experience. So it's about building a balanced business, I call it. So when I set out on my business journey, for whatever reason, I decided that so I just walked away from a job. I didn't need to start a business. I just walked away from it. But my ambition was to match or even exceed the salary that I'd walked away from. So it was very much about money for me. And I worked my socks off to do that, literally to the detriment of everything else. So
Yeah.
I stopped, socializing with my friends and family. My husband didn't really speak to me for about 3 years because he very disapproved of it. But I stopped all the good things in my life. So drank too much coffee, probably too much alcohol, not enough sleep, didn't look after myself, just went for the money. And of course I did get clients, clients came and clients went, but I realized that I was heading for burnout. And I could see this obviously, life's mirror and that. I could see this also in the people I was working with. And that's when I realized that actually it didn't have to be like that. Money was coming in, but I could still carry on doing other stuff. So I developed my Balanced Business Success Program, and that's how I help people today.
Yeah, and I've been on one of your free sessions, I think, that is really powerful, and I highly recommend popping on. Do you still do an intro session? Is that how you work it these days or not?
I do, yeah, I do webinars. I sometimes do workshops as well. So, and they are just a taster. It's a bit of a taster, if you like, about who I am. If you feel like you'd like to work with me, I never, I always offer. If people are interested in working with me, I always offer a free consultation just to make sure that I can help.
Yes, yeah.
And that we like each other.
Yeah, rapport match is all it's about, really, isn't it? If you
Yeah.
actually feel comfortable with somebody.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how we balance our lives so that our business is balanced and our whole life is balanced.
Yeah, I think there's two things that are the main things here, Susie. I think the number one thing is we have to be clear about what we want out of life, because it's about getting you mentioned I'm a hypnotherapist, and I learned hypnotherapy because one of the things I found very early on, which is it's not rocket science, it's probably not new to you, that people find it very difficult to change. So people come to me because they want something different. But if you want something different, something's got to change, because if you carry on doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change. So that's why I learned hypnotherapy, just to help people change if they needed that therapy to help them. But the only way that you'll get to change is if you've got a big enough motivation. And a lot of people are just trundling through their lives on autopilot and have never even thought about what they want. So, it's like if you want to lose weight, you're going to have a motivating reason to lose weight. Either it's health related, or you want to get into a particular size dress for a wedding or something. There's got to be a motivation. And if you've got to change something in your business, you've got to have a motivational dream or goal. So I help people get that. And then it's about the biggest thing that gets in the way is managing our time, or not even managing our time, because that's not possible, as we know. It's about managing yourself. So those two things are really the beginning of the journey that I take clients on with me. It's about getting your motivational goal. And when I say motivational goal, I mean personal, because I see business as a vehicle for people to achieve their personal goals.
Yeah.
And yeah,
that's really
rather than just a job.
Yeah, that's really spinning it, isn't it? And certainly now that I'm retired from my career jobs, if you like, I know exactly what it means. This is my life. It's my fun. It's my joy. It's my purpose. And I think we get stuck in jobs. And certainly I sort of look back, and I've done a lot of career counseling over the years with my staff, when it was clear that they were not in the position they needed to be or got the capacity to be in. And people get stuck in the belief about things. So do you include hypnotherapy within the coaching with individuals then as well?
If necessary. So if somebody's really, because a lot of, as you know, so a lot of the things that are holding people back are their limiting beliefs about themselves.
Yeah.
So sometimes if it seems that it's getting a really bit tricky and we're just not making much progress, then I will offer hypnotherapy, and many people take it, and it's a really powerful tool. So
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Or it could be that somebody's just got a habit that they happen to open up to me. Maybe they're addicted to chocolate or something and they want to stop. I then say, "Oh, you could try hypnotherapy," and so we do that as well. So it's an added tool, if you like.
Absolutely. So where would one start on a journey of balancing their life with you as a coach? What do you get them to do?
Okay, so if I just give you an example. A client of mine who started just before Christmas, actually, he came to me because he's been in business 30 years. He'd got to the point where he was dreading going to work in the morning. He was resenting his team. So when I have an initial consultation with people, so I can find out via the language they use and the questions I ask them, I find out what is actually really going on. So with this particular guy, for example, I very quickly identified, and helped him identify too, that his personality type is a type that doesn't like conflict. So he finds it very difficult to share. He shares it with me, but then he doesn't share with his team that actually he's unhappy about the way they're performing and all that kind of stuff, because he's afraid of conflict in the workplace. So he felt he couldn't say anything. And then on top of it, so as a result of that, he's spending all his time reacting to everything and has no time to step back and actually proactively design his day. So they're the kind of things I find out what the real things are going on, not what the person says they're feeling. It's actually what's making that happen. And then once we know that, we can take the steps to address it. So for this particular guy, I'm working with, because he does find it so difficult to tell people, to manage people, I'm actually getting the team involved in the coaching as well, so that I can actually help him with that process. And so we're getting them on board with his vision for the business, which we worked out straight away. And now we are finding ways to eliminate this constant reactive behavior that they're all doing and turn it into proactive. And by doing that, you just free up so much time.
So,
And
are you acting as a consultant then within the business now?
it's a mixture. So I tell people that I'm a coach, a teacher, and a mentor.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm teaching rather than consulting.
Yeah, yeah. And is that making a massive difference to the business ROI? And
yes, definitely. And I just the other day, the person who actually referred this client to me, she rang me up out of the blue and said her words were, "I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, for the difference you're making to him, because she can see it in him every day. His whole mindset, his demeanor, his energy have all changed, already. And yes, it's making a massive difference to their ROI as well."
good, good. So you've
Bottom line.
obviously got a good magic wand then in this business coaching. What is a balanced business success program? Ah, very good. Abracadabra. Wonderful.
The thing is, it has to, this does not work just by itself, which is I explain to people. It does require focus and discipline to make it work.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I actually want to make a wand. If I can find the right piece of wood stick, I'd like to make a wand that's with some crystals in it. How exciting. That's a project for me.
Yeah, that would,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to make sure that all of the information about you, Ros, is down below in the show notes. So people, if they're interested in having a free consultation with you to see if you're a good fit and you're ready to sprinkle some magic dust on their business and they choose you, then they'll know how to get in touch with you. So this, guys, is a really, really interesting book. I have a confession to make, and Ros knows this, so it's not a secret. And that is the fact I'm not really a novel reader. So, but when my friend wrote a novel, I honored my friend by reading it, not once, twice, because it's a beautiful book, so well written. And it's sort of almost diary-like in terms of the seasons that you go through of life, isn't there? And what for me was interesting, although Ros is a decade younger than me, there were so many references here to my memories, which I found fascinating. So if you're interested in English culture, if you're interested in life, say from the 60s, 70s, that sort of 80s time, then read it for that. And it's quite spicy as well. So it's a really, really good book. I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's my intro to it. So Ros, tell us a little bit more about however did you get to write this? I think which is quite important for people to know.
Yes. Yes. So it's the whole process of writing that book has really changed my life, actually, because I always wanted to be a writer when I was a child. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a teacher and a writer. And actually, I am now, but it took me a long time. So there's some powerful messages in the whole process, actually, because for one, somebody asked me how long it took me to write that book, and I said 9 months, but actually it's taken me my whole life.
Yes.
And I do think, and the lesson I learned there that I can help people with is that I was afraid, that it was fear that stopped me doing that. And I think sometimes we come up with all excuses. I could say I was just too busy to do it, which is the number one excuse that people give. But if you are brave enough to uncover that, the real reason, it's because we're afraid, and fear holds us back from so much in life. And fear held me back from writing the book for the usual reasons. What would people say? And as you say, Susie, it is you said it's a spicy book, but it deals also with some difficult topics, and it opens in a quite dramatic way, should I say, not to spoil it. It opens in a very dramatic way. And so that's, yes, so I overcame that fear. Now I don't, people think what they like. And it's it's good to get negative and positive feedback always, of course. But you asked how I came to write it, and the trigger, if you like, the thing that that got me to overcome the fear of writing that book was something very powerful. It was inspired by the death of my mother. My mother and my elder sister both died of cancer. And when my mother died in 2019, I was inspired to write this book. The germ of the idea came to me. And the idea, and I don't know whether people get this from their reading of the book, I know people get different things, is the impact of our parents and their parents and their parents on the person we become.
Yeah.
And is it possible to break that cycle? And in the book, it goes back through 3 generations of women, and you see the same patterns reoccurring. And the reason I was inspired by my mother and my sister was because my mother made a whole string of, shall we say, unhelpful life choices. And my eldest sister seemed to, in my view, seemed to systematically copy all of those to the, even to the ultimate of dying of cancer. So that gave me the inspiration for the book, although it was a while. I didn't actually start it till the February in 2021, actually. But I did write the very beginning. The opening chapter is the same as what I wrote when I was thinking about my mum back in after her death in 2019. But when I got going, it just, I had done the work on my business that enabled me to have that time, because it's quite time consuming to write and to be able to set that time aside. But it did just flow after I planned it out. So I, like a business, I planned out my book so that I knew exactly what I was going to be writing. And once you've got that plan in place, it's quite easy.
Mm. Yes, it is. And it came beautifully as well. The way you wrote it, and obviously we've talked about your process, and the way you actually pulled it together and turned it into something that was beyond autobiography. It was sort of far beyond, pulling bits of life into it. It was then became something very powerful. And so since you've become an author, you say it changed your life. What has changed?
What's changed is the route that I'm on, if you like. So the book, it opened up, the biggest thing is it opened up a whole new world to me, in that the book itself is not about, but it contains themes of domestic abuse. It's not about domestic abuse, but it contains themes of domestic abuse. And when I started telling people about my book, or people started reading it, I just became aware of how prevalent domestic abuse is. And I never knew. I just wrote this story. But then in fact, the day that my book was published, I was actually speaking at International Women's Week or Day at the Stephen Joseph Theatre here in Scarborough. And my publisher had sent me a box of books. And as I was leaving my office to go to give my talk, I took a book and I thought, got to get these out into the world. And I decided that it was going to be a prize for somebody at my talk. So I sort of warned people what it was about so that it didn't get to somebody who was going to be triggered by it. But the person who won the book, got talking to her later, and she works for the charity Independent Domestic Abuse Services, which is a domestic abuse charity in Yorkshire. And that has been the beginning of a new education for me, if you like, that really has opened up the prevalence of domestic abuse in all its formats. So not just violence, I'm talking about coercive control, financial control, all of those manipulative behaviors. And I encounter stories of it now every day. So what I did, because in fact, one of the funny things, really funny, maybe, I started doing book signing events, and I wanted to do more in bookshops. So I did one in a bookshop in Leeds. I started contacting bookshops to ask if I could do something in their store. And there was one shop in particular in North Yorkshire. The woman said to me, congratulations on getting, the owner, she said, congratulations on getting your book published. I've had a look. She's obviously gone to Amazon and flicked through the first few pages. She said, I don't think this is for my readers. And when I thought about that, and I just realized that actually, well, first of all, I thought, well, what right have you to stop your readers reading about this, I bet you've got crime stories going on in your bookshop and horror stories and all sorts. So that gave me, believe it or not, gave me the germ of an idea to put on a conference for IDAS, which I did, and it was called Let's Talk Domestic Abuse. So I did that conference last year in October. I'm going to do another one this October because that's Domestic Abuse Awareness Week. But when I got chatting with the director from IDAS, I couldn't, and I knew there was some sort of reason I was being drawn to it, and I didn't know why, but she suggested that there were volunteer opportunities. So I've trained as a volunteer, and I will be starting that journey soon. And I expect it to open up all sorts of other stuff for me. In fact, they've suggested that I should, one of the things I could offer to the charity and the survivors of domestic abuse is to do webinars on journaling, creative, writing for recovery kind of thing. So that's one aspect that the book has changed my life.
Excellent. Yeah, and I've been to that conference and it was really interesting. So, Ros, this has just been a really, really lovely chat. Is there anything else you would like people to know about you, or what your plans are for the year, or anything like that?
Well, my big plans. So now I'm writing my second novel, and I want to make sure that I keep in mind that my business is a vehicle for me to achieve what I want in my personal life. That to me is really important. It can be easy to slip into the work thing, especially for somebody like me.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I keep that balance, and I'm on a mission to be. I'm on a quest, if you like, or mission, whatever, is to help as many people as I can achieve that balanced business success, because there's no reason why we need to keep working the way we do. And I'm a big believer in this whole idea of a kinder economy, that actually it's not just about the bottom line. There are other measures of success.
Yeah.
And one of them could be actually, as you say, Susie, just experiencing joy on a daily basis and having fun and just getting out of life as much as we can. That's really what I'd like people to know about me.
Well, that's been absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ros, and thank you everybody who's been watching. And do get in touch with Ros. If you're in the north of England, then you've got some opportunities coming up. You do some networking events, all over social media. All the links are below. So thank you very, very much. And hang about for a while, and I will be finishing this video with a small moment of calm. So stay with me. Be back in a moment. What a wonderful talk from the lovely Ros Jones. As we sit here reflecting on our own lives and whether or not we are living our best life, just know we are living our life, and that is our job and our purpose. And if there is more that you need to do to be truly living your best life, then the opportunities are there if you find them. So just for a moment, close your eyes. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Lift your chin and smile. And think about all of the things that you have in life that create balance. Your habits, your routines, your relationships. And maybe now you can put your hand on your heart and be grateful for each one of those aspects of your life that you are grateful for. And if anything shows up that isn't in balance, take one step at a time, a small step every day, to do your best to restore your balance, in order that you can truly live your best life. Just take a few gentle breaths. And as you go about your day and your week, keep measuring your balance. Your life, your relationships, your business, your home, your finances, and without any judgment, tweak them until they're just the way you want, in order that you can live your best life. Have a wonderful week.